Well, here we are.
Greetings.
Here we are.
Yay. We are live from our studios.
I didn't know if I'd make it this morning, Gary. Yeah.
Oh, why? What was going on?
Makeup lady didn't show up.
Mm,
You know, you go on
I
camera,
know.
you got to have that makeup. But
I know
hey,
how important that is, because as a fugly person myself.
you gotta have them do what they can do with what they got.
Amen. But it is Wednesday. It's good to see you, Dawn. Yeah, I threw poor Chanel under the bus. She was last minute going, hey, someone maybe better make sure that Dawn is up and coming to the show. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll take the hit.
Hey, since when have I ever
Never
not showed up?
Never. You've never not shown up. And I loved it because she was hearing our conversation. I threw her completely under the bus. Yeah, Chanel forced me to do this.
Yeah.
But it's Wednesday morning, middle of the damn week. I'm real excited to be talking about what we're going to be talking about today. But before we do, I did get a hold of Mark Center. He's got to do some PT today, but he said he might drop in with us during the show.
Great. Okay.
So, but I hope everybody who's all here, Martin, who's all here.
Well,
You want to give us the announcement? Oh, what is this?
Christian Delorme.
Christian Delorme. Good morning, everybody. Here's to Gary, one of the hardest working guys I know. Cheers. I appreciate, even though I'm not a laborer anymore by any measure of the word, I do work a ridiculous schedule that when I'm not working on these shows, I'm trying to do my artwork. And I get messages from, Christian, Script, but just a bunch of my friends going, hey, where's my art? And I'm like, I'm trying. Doing the best I can.
Sounds like a lot of whining to me.
It's a lot of whining. Oh, my God. It is a good morning, and thank you for the $10 Canadian, Christian Delorme. I'm assuming you're not drunk yet, and you're just doing that because you're nice. He does. He told me that sometimes he just gets... He's like throwing money at a stripper. He's like in a bar drinking his PBR. He drinks PBR. It's one of his favorite things to drink. And he'll just start throwing money at us. And I always laugh too, like when we're about to end a show and him and Tickle Trunk, who else does that, Martin? Somebody else does it at the end of the show. Starts throwing money at the last minute to try to stop us from going.
I can't remember, man.
I find that shit funny. I don't care who you are. That shit's funny. You want to play a video for him? You want to pick one? Go for it, Martin.
I'm on
Christian, this is your thank you video from Martina Casa Santana. So it's his fault if it sucks.
I'd buy that for $1.
I think the disturbing part of that is how heavy that dude laughed. Watching that, it's like, why is he laughing so hard?
Yeah, the joke is not.
It's not that funny, but it's something we all enjoy because we love that movie. It's a great movie. It's classic. So anyway, let's see. I didn't get to watch because I was busy doing art yesterday. How did Brian's show go yesterday, Martin?
Oh, man. It was a shame that it has to end.
Really? Because yesterday he was talking about the oh, what is it called? Oh, hold on.
Oh, the
I got the
Fermi
graphic here.
paradox.
Here it is.
Whoops.
Yeah,
Ah.
oops. Double oops.
It's your fault.
The
Not mine.
Fermi paradox, which of course I made it into the monolith in the graphic and had a pod from 2001: A Space Odyssey in there. I thought that'd be funny. Because that's my brain's very esoteric. But so how did it go? Did he really get deep into the well on that one? Because that's a
Well,
pretty far-fetching subject.
yeah, it's a far-fetching, and obviously, in order to be able to talk about it in just under 2 hours, we have to establish some
Yeah, when you
parameters.
pick a subject like that and then try to do it in 2 hours, good luck.
Yeah. So
Do you know much about that, Don?
Oh yeah.
We should have Brian on to do a part 2 of that show on our show. What do you think?
Here's the thing.
absolutely.
Yeah, I would be certainly up for that.
Oh,
Here's the thing. The Fermi paradox, you know exactly what that is, right?
I do not.
Okay. Back in about 50 or 51, the father of the H bomb and several other top scientists, okay, were down in New Mexico. They were working on a government project. They were at lunch. And of course, at that time, UFOs filled the newspapers from one end of the country to the other. And conversations were going on everywhere. They had not yet been considered persona non grata thanks to the United States federal government. Okay. Everybody was still on edge. What the hell are these things? What are they doing? And of course, there were many, many, many naysayers and skeptics out there. Oh, it's just a bunch of crap. Well, in fact, it wasn't just a bunch of crap. But Fermi sat there and he said, you know, in essence, this was implied. The universe is billions of years old. Okay. And remember, at that time, our scientific knowledge of the cosmos was just a tiny fraction of what it is today. People thought that our galaxy, the Milky Way, one of we know today, uncounted billions and billions of galaxies out there. They thought our galaxy was the only game in town. In other words, this was it. Look up. You see that? That's us. That's all there is. Well, of course, that wasn't true. But
In
they
fact, it's
started
insane to
thinking,
think it is.
exactly. So they started talking about this. And even at sublight speed in our galaxy, for as long as we've been here, if aliens decided to go into space, even without warp drive or whatever they were calling it then, there would have been more than enough time for them to colonize the entire galaxy. There would have been millions and millions and millions of years that if aliens were out there, they could have traveled all over. And if they weren't still here, evidence that they had been here. Well, the bottom line is we probably have, in many situations, discovered telltale signs that somebody was here before us. But being that as it may, then we jump forward to Frank Drake. Okay. Project Ozma, the first attempt at SETI communications anywhere, 1958, 59, looking for those elusive alien radio signals. Now, where they decided to look, okay, Frank Drake was basically in the water line of communications, where everybody, if they were using radio, would probably be transmitting. And this has gone on from that time to this time, with the exception of only a couple of occasions, no signals have been found. Now, if you stop and think about that, the immensity of the cosmos, more than we can even comprehend with our limited human minds and brains, what the hell? Where is everybody? Well, I've thought about that. As a matter of fact, it's some time ago. I'm terrible at this, man. I'll start working on something and then I set it aside for a while, waiting for inspiration to hit me again. But I started working on that concept of where the hell are they? And why haven't we discovered them? And I personally came to the conclusion that there's no doubt in my military mind that there are uncounted races of ETs out there somewhere, but they've been extremely quiet. What if they know of a predatory or a number of predatory races just waiting to discover where these other civilizations are and then go in and clean them out? And as a matter of fact, that's basically what John Brandenburg's thesis is concerning Mars. There was probably a primitive civilization that were noticed somehow, and somebody came in and took them out. So what if that were cosmos wide? That's what I think the real dirty secret is, Gary.
And it's something that I've pondered every time we have someone like Brandenburg and Mark, or any of the Marks, or DePerno. We have those guys on, and inevitably that pops into my head while we're talking. It's like, is that the potentiality of the situation? Is that we're on a tight wire, a bird on a wire? Always on the potential edge of disaster,
Well,
because we went too far with our knowledge.
If we look at our own history, who were the explorers and what did they end up doing?
They were always looking for precious or important things that would make money. They weren't there for for the human experience.
No,
they were there for very selfish means.
Conquerors. Okay. Look at what happened to Central and South America when Europe came over and ended up invading it. Not only did they come in to conquer it, they brought disease with them and everything else. They brought the Catholic Church with them, which
back when the Catholics weren't such good guys.
No, they were not. And it basically changed the course of history. So,
Brian is in the chat, by the way. Brian, if you didn't hear it, I sent you a message. We want to do next Wednesday, continue your show yesterday on our show. So there you go. By the way,
bridge.
Do we have a bridge? God, was it Monkey?
Yeah.
Yes, Monkey. You son of a bitch.
Sons of bitches.
Sons of bitches. Here we go. All right, hold on. Which one do I want to do? I want to do this one. We haven't played this in a while.
And why do you have underpants with a Swiss flag on them?
Swiss? Those aren't Swiss. Those are, they're from the Red Cross. They're defective. Anyway, me safe house, A2 safe house. I'm gonna check the back door.
Pam is like one of my favorite characters on that show. So let's see. I've started some comments, and I haven't said good morning to everybody. So let's stop and say hi to everybody. D. Bud Martin, first person in the house. I think it was Penny. Said good morning to you and me. D. Bud Martin, Christian Delorme has a comment. Let's see. Hold on. Best wishes to Dallas Wolf today. He doesn't go in until 1 o'clock. I think he goes under the knife. So we're going to keep
Yes.
positive thoughts for him. Those of us with faith, say a prayer for him. Always keep him in your thoughts. John is an important person. Yes, I poke fun at him because he just sits there motionless for long periods of time. But when he pops in, man, he pops in with information. And I love that about him. I love that. He knows a lot. He's a guy that, no, sadly, he doesn't drink. But because I've always joked that I'm like Tyrion Lannister. I drink and I know things. John is a guy who drinks soda, or used to drink soda and knew things. Now he doesn't. He won't drink soda anymore because of the surgery. He'll never. That's a lifetime commitment. He can never have carbonated drinks ever again. That's like nightmare fuel for me.
Well, he will have fuel up at least.
Yes, he will. And thank you again for the well wishes for him. Of course, we had a $10 super chat from Christian Delorme. Monkey Jeebus dropped in the house and said, so it's just Chanel like Prince. It is. Or Sting is an even better one.
Or Madonna.
One of my favorite moments with Sting was in the movie about the building of his new band after he left the police, Bring on the Night. It's a good film. It's a really good docudrama. And there's a moment where Bradford Marcellus, the great saxophonist, is looking and discovers his real name in the movie. He says, Gordon Sumner in the film, and you can see Sting is bemused by him using his real name. And then even more, because Bradford Marcellus is just this kind of guy, he starts calling him Gordy. So is this your favorite thing about your family, Gordy? Huh, Gordy? Kept in the movie. It was really funny. Let's see. Anima Confucius says, let's just agree the fact that you all have faces for radio. Thanks, baby. We love that. Ah, man, I can face the world now. I saw a documentary on the ghosts of Fukushima. Actually, I know that film, and it is really good. Have you seen that film, that documentary on the ghosts of Fukushima?
No.
Check it. Find it. Because it's just as horrifying. Two films that, in my opinion, should be sold as a duo set is Chernobyl. And because what happened there is just horrifying. And the amount of courage by some of those people that knew they were going to their death to go in there and fight this and try to stop it. It's reminiscent of the gentleman who accidentally dropped the shit, I just forgot what it's called, the round ball when they were designing the nuclear bomb. And he picked it up with his bare hands. Plutonium. And he put it back in the casing with his bare hands. What he did, just an instantaneous thing, almost without thought, killed him. It took him days to die. But
horribly, I might add.
Oh, blood was coming out of every orifice, and including pores. His tear ducts. It was just awful. Your insides liquefy. It's just fucking the idea of it. Oh man. If you've never seen the movie Fat Man and Little Boy, it's a good film. I'm not a big fan of John Cryer and his politics, but I do like his films, and I love Paul Newman. Bush McFadden says Dust Wolfen.
My buddy played Oppenheimer in that. Dwight Schultz.
That's right. Schultz is in that. Holy crap, I forgot about that. Dwight Schultz is in that.
That's why I'm here, Gary. To keep you straight.
Yeah, because that'd be gay if you were here.
Good luck with that.
Monkey Jeebus, Cusack, not Cryer.
He's right, Sean. You're right. John Cusack.
Did I say Cryer? I apologize.
You said Cryer.
Cusack. I mean, Cusack did some great movies all the way up into the 90s. And then all of a sudden, his career just went,
Hey, Glenn is here.
Glenn is from England. So let's see. They killed themselves before they even reach us. That's an interesting hypothesis, that some of these alien species kill themselves before they even get here. What do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I think the book has not yet closed on us. We very well could end up doing that very thing. Hey, look, for whatever it's worth, I believe that our civilization here on Sol 3, aka planet Earth, has been reset a number of times. I believe that there have been a number of planetary wide catastrophic events that basically reset the human race quite a few times. It could have been not only cosmic hits from above, there were, and we know this for a fact. We know that there have been magnetic field transitions that God only knows what it did to us. There have been solar flares from the sun. Hey, we know for a fact that at least there have been 3, possibly 4 planetary wide extinction events going back several billion years. The human race, hey, we're fragile. I don't know if people realize how fragile we really are.
But well, you look back in 09, Don. You remember in 09, the Earth's core stopped spinning.
Well, that was a suspicion, yeah.
And that it started rotating in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And I think it's happening again right now. It's doing it again. And we don't know what impact that's going to have, because this is a big concern that we've had, is a polar shift on this planet.
And
a major polar shift.
With the ineptitude, and I mean that when I say ineptitude, think of incompetence geometrically magnified of the current administration. People may not realize how close we are to becoming World War III with the possibility of nuclear intervention.
Oh, absolutely. Because I tell people all the time for years, I say, we're nowhere near, 11 to midnight. We're nowhere near it. Or 11 minutes to midnight, whatever that thing is that they talk about. Doomsday clock is what I'm referring to. You know, I lost sight of that thing, and I stopped caring about it for a long time, because we became corporations. Our nations became corporations, and corporations may go to war, but it's financial war. But the fact is, right now, for the last 11 months, we've been closer to the brink of disaster than we have since the missiles of October. I think that's the closest I can compare historically to absolute utter destruction. Flavor of the week is Old Milwaukee. You drinking Old Mill, but not getting smashed today. We have guests for supper. Yeah, you have company, so you're not allowed to get smashed. Thank you for the Canadian super chat, my friend. Play him a video again, Martin. This one time, don't make it suck. Play a good one.
I thought you liked the other one, but okay.
I did.
I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
I got a fever. It almost sounds like, if you stop it there, the way he says fever, it sounds like John Travolta. I do love that fucking skit. If you've never seen that skit, that whole skit's hilarious. Will Ferrell is just freaking everybody out. Parnell, who's standing next to him, he's got his hairy fat belly sticking out slightly underneath that nylon shirt from the 70s. It's just so fucking funny. I will give you this about Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell, the reason why I believe he's good at comedy, just not always great at it, is he has no ego when it comes to making people laugh. He will make himself look so bad and so stupid. And that is one of the most necessary things with comedy is you have to be willing to be the butt of your own joke. And that shit's funny. I don't care who you are. That shit's funny. But thanks again, Christian. You are the man. Again, I want to put this up there. This was to you, Don, from John Ostains. Don also got the 1960 Brookings Institute report from that era.
You know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
The Brookings report?
Well, you told me about it. Yes, I do. Thanks to you. And that should be brought up too when we have Brian on. Look at science fiction movies as how we would behave with aliens. Yeah, look, I am more akin to the shit that happened in what is that movie? Not The Outpost, Alien Outpost. What's that movie? Battle Los Angeles. Battle Los Angeles and Independence Day are closer to what I fear we'll run into. And it is a real concern that if we go to war with one of these races, that's what it's going to end up being like. The only difference is I believe that some of these races may join us in the fight. And they'll finally be exposed.
If that were to ever happen with a race coming here from somewhere else, our only hope, all right, now sure, we have things like atomic weapons and we have biologicals, we have chemicals, but our only hope, in my opinion, would be asymmetrical warfare, guerrilla war. Because
absolutely,
we could not confront them on the battlefield with technology they likely would have.
And that's Battle Los Angeles kind of shows that, even though that's a Marine unit doing that fighting, they're fighting like insurgents.
Yeah,
trying to figure out the weakness of these aliens and trying to figure out how and what can kill them. And by the way, I want to put this back up there again. This is from Bush a little earlier. In order for sentient intergalactic travelers to reach us, they would, 1, have to know where we will be, and 2, be able to class 2 civilization or higher. Be able to, I'm not sure I understand that.
They would be at least a
class 2 civilization. Or higher. Right. I get it now. And he's drinking, I think he said. So let's see who all is here this morning. Of course, Penny was first one. Anima Confusa, Christian DeLorme, D-Bud Martin, Andy Morrow, Monkey Jeebus, Alex Moore, Joseph Dredd, Sean Estep, John Ostains, Bush McFadden. I'm not going to... Chanel, you almost got me with that one. BRB Coffee. This person's name. I get rolling doing the reading. Glenn Fleming, 70s rock fan, our good friend Brian. Dragon Ruse, Davina Duckworth is here. Good morning. We have a nice crowd this morning. I think finally that people are really liking our UFO Wednesday. I love alliterations, and I can never find a name for Wednesday other than just UFO Wednesday. There are 2 U's and a W. Hence the name W. Nothing. It's like crickets in here. I didn't know there was a 1995 revival of The Invaders with Scott Bakula. There wasn't, Davina. It was terrible.
Worse than terrible. And it had jack all to do with the original series. Nothing to do with it. Even with a cameo by Roy Thinnis. Didn't do anything.
Nope. And now I will throw up the graphic. Here it is. Boom. We have The Invaders. And this is
a Quinn Martin production.
Well, I liked it when they would do that. They would say his name. But in that show and many other shows, they would just say a QM production. I didn't like that. I liked it when they said his name, Quinn Martin. Because that's a cool name. Quinn Martin. It's like, what a great combination. Quinn. Quinn is a first name. Are you kidding me? What a great name. We're going to be talking about this show, The Invaders. What a great show, man. It really was. Let's get into this, Don. So this show is really, and I'm going to show something here real quick just for us. We'll get claimed on it later. I don't care. I really don't care. I will mute it. This is the intro to that show, and I think this is the season 2 intro.
Why another galaxy? Did they not know how big our galaxy is?
That's a good question. Have you ever met any of the writers from this?
No.
I've always been curious why some of the decisions are made
through Roy Thinnis's son used to have coffee with my best buddy Rich Saraday up in Tujunga at a Starbucks up there. And boy, we tried for the longest time to get Roy Thinnis on. Of course, he's now in his upper 80s, if not 90 years old, still with us. And he just, I guess he just didn't care to go back and revisit that time when he was doing the Invaders. But he had a hell of a career, that guy.
He's been in quite a few things that I like. But he was also a bit of a ufologist himself, wasn't he?
Yep. Yes, he was. About 2 or 3 days before the initial premiere of the Invaders, he and his wife were driving down the 405. He obviously lives out here. And his wife looked out the window, and lo and behold, there was a UFO. And
this is in Southern Cal, right?
Yeah, this is going down the 405 into LA. And she about had a cow, and she said, oh my God, you got to call somebody. And he told her, he said, call somebody. Who? My show is about ready to go on the air. They would think it's just a publicity stunt. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, he was a firm believer. Thinnis was a firm believer in the phenomenon.
That's amazing. So I'll go ahead and finish this real quick.
Invaders are here. Nightmare has already begun.
The guest stars in tonight's story, John Larch, Carol Rawson.
And I got to tell you, they got some serious talent as guest stars on the show. Suzanne Plachette, Gene Hackman, major talent that would go on to become stars.
Dabney Coleman.
And Dabney, that's right. Oh my God. Just and the conspiracy, because the 60s was the era where we became a cynical country. And that's thanks to people like John McNamara, President Johnson, and that other Bob McNamara, and his crony. I can't remember his name offhand. The guy who came up with the term "the fog of war." I can't think of his name right now, but he was another one of those guys feeding the pockets of corporations to fuel the war, to turn a profit. And one of those companies was Johnson & Johnson, that made a profit off of the Vietnam War. And it's something that should not be allowed legally. It should not be allowed. You shouldn't be allowed to turn a profit off of warfare. And even gun manufacturers, it bums me out to know that they can turn a profit off war, selling arms to not just us, but to other countries that we're having problems with. An American country American weapon manufacturer should be limited to who they're allowed to sell to. Do you agree with me on that? I'm curious.
Yes, I do. But one first has to realize the immense power and influence and connections that these corporations have. It's kind of like attempting to take money out of politics. Hey, all those son of a bitches in Congress they're becoming millionaires. Take a look, for example, at Barack Obama before he became president, his worth when he left the Oval Office after 8 years. Look at Nancy Pelosi. I could go on and go on. Look at Hillary Clinton and the Whitewater.
And on top of that, they get a retirement plan from us. It's disgusting. It is disgusting that they get to retire
how do you
off our
take
tax
money
dollars.
from politics? How do you take money from politics? How do you take money away from the arms manufacturers? Ain't never going to happen, Bubba.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
but however, Mexican Iron Man do not take money from us. He gives money to us.
that's right. He does a lot for this channel. Good morning, Mikey. I am here for Great Don Ecker, Martin 2. Jury's still out on that guy on the top left. Next week, Mexican Just For You, we're going to talk about Alf. He does not like Alf. Does not like Alf. I'm going to... Don will do a dissertation on the insignificant importance of Alf as a sitcom about aliens and why it was important.
Sons of bitches.
Sons of bitches. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Mexican Iron Man. You are the man. Go for it, Martin. Play a video.
I'm going on that. Oh, he is.
Where's my money? You gonna give me my money? Where's my money, man? Where's the money?
So let's do this. I found this website and I thought, you know what? I agree with every single selection they made. These are all very memorable moments. There's Oscar Goldman in an episode. Man, the Beachhead, which is the premiere episode, the pilot episode, is listed as their number one best episode. And I agree. What an episode. And again, the 60s, people in America became more cynical. And then you introduce cynicism with UFOs. And this show started because all the alien movies before that were either invasion threat or potential annihilation due to our nuclear interests. And then in the 60s, they introduced a different kind of invasion, that they may already be here and they may have infiltrated us at every level. What a great concept to create paranoia.
Well, yeah. I'm gonna lay something on you, and it may surprise a lot of people that have followed me through the years with UFO magazine and my various radio shows that I did, but I am firmly convinced that they are already here, that there are representatives that are currently living among us, passing themselves off as human beings, Homo sapiens sapiens. And in fact, some of them, in fact, may be, but at any rate, they are here. And I think that they have basically had a major influence and effect on us going back at least 2,000 years, Gary. Now, I have a lot of reasons why I believe that, much more than we would have time today, but to discuss. But I have no doubt they are here.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I got to tell you, one of the coolest model kits I ever saw, by the way, was the Invaders model kit, because when I saw that, I got it as a kid. And that was a cool model kit. And there you see the saucer, because they actually built a full-scale saucer for the show. And it wasn't like on all sides. Part of it wasn't manufactured. They did very similar to what they did with Lost in Space, with building the saucer prop. Now, the saucer prop on the show, Lost in Space, they built it slightly downscaled. So the actors would kind of have to tilt their head to go through the door, the men. The women were short enough to where they could get through the door. But with this one, they built a full-scale prop, and that led to this episode of The Saucer, where he actually gets inside of one of them, and it is from season 2, episode 2. And that was another one. Vincent battles and destroys an alien guard and captures one of their spacecraft. And these were all voted on, by the way. They ran a poll for visitors. It's not very many people. I don't know. Are there very many of us fans of this show? I don't know. I know that
I can barely remember it. I saw it as a kid.
Well, I will tell you this, that there's like prop stores around the world, and from Christie's to smaller ones like yourprops.com that make good money off of Blade Runner, Star Trek, Star Wars, but also classic TV shows, one of them including The Invaders. And you'll find, like right now, if you go to yourprops.com and look up The Invaders, right now they've got Roy Thinnis's suit, one of the agent suits from the series. They've got several of the laser guns that were used in the series. One of the grenades that was used. And there's also a device that I can't remember what this one is. Let me take a look at this. I'll show it to you real quick here. It's the one with Michael Rennie. It was the prop used in that episode.
The Invaders?
And, yeah, here you go. There's the prop from the Michael Rennie episode. And Michael Rennie, you might remember, folks, from The Day the Earth Stood Still. And he came in to do this one. And it's a thing that was on the wall or over the door frame. And it's one of the props that's made available. And this is the website. It's very cool. They sell a lot of the pistols that were used on the show.
Hey, those aliens had the best guns ever on the Invaders.
Oh, yeah.
One zap and zip, it's all gone.
Look at that. These are 60s models that are still available today. What is this one? I don't know what that is. Invader Death Disc. Oh, my God. I remember it now. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Here's a photo of it being used. They put
by the way, Gary, by the way, my wife, Vicky,
is she
by
cooking?
the way, is her name. Yeah, she's in the kitchen, just so you know.
When you hear those things clanking, you know she's cooking. What did she say? I heard her say something.
She's just mumbling.
Here's the hypnotic crystal that was used on the show. These are props that you can just go and buy right now over on this is not the prop store. This is yourprops.com. A lot of cool stuff. I like this. Look at that jumpsuit thing worn in this episode. Oh, I remember this one. My God. God, this is good television, man.
Okay, so now let's look inside the Invaders a little bit. Okay, the mythology as it is. Now, the show only lasted 2 seasons. Then it was canceled. Now, back in the early 90s, when I was doing my first radio show in the early 90s, UFOs Tonight, I then tried to get a hold of Roy Thinnis because I wanted to interview him. The Sci-Fi Channel was running all the episodes of The Invaders because basically they didn't have any money. My buddy Rich and I had a meeting with those guys. This was when we were trying to turn UFO Magazine into a weekly television program talking about the latest things happening in the UFO field. Now, at that time, every week, going for about 6-7 years, you couldn't turn on the TV without running into a UFO story. They were huge then. And Sci-Fi told us we'd really love to do something with you guys, but we don't have any money now. We spent all our money to start the channel. And what they did, they bought a lot of rights to old sci-fi shows that they were running then. So the Invaders kind of had a resurgence. And I tried to get a hold of Thinnis. I couldn't reach him. This was before Rich Saraday had met his son. So we were kind of SOL. But looking at the mythology of the Invaders, I've often thought, and I'm using my logical side of my brain right now, why would they have wanted to come to Earth? Because according to the Bible of the TV show, number one, they can't breathe oxygen. They're in a human form that they have to keep maintaining by going into one of those chambers. Otherwise, they'll revert back to their natural state and burn up. Did you catch all that, Gary?
No, well, when you're saying it, yeah. But
yeah, so it was, and some of them seem to experience at least rudimentary emotion. Many of them didn't. Okay, many of them didn't, but some of them were, I guess you could say, mutated a bit. Suzanne Plachette, in her first appearance, experienced some emotion, okay, which kind of shocked David Vincent during that episode. But it, you know, if you really pick it apart, there are some inconsistencies there.
Well, you found that with a lot of episodic TV back then, because it was like everything was an experiment. And in fact, Moonshot was, in my opinion, it was the first time that they had approached aliens interacting with humans in that. I think they did it the same year that Star Trek would do it. And, you know, with the episode where they kidnap a future, the father of a future astronaut.
Oh, yes. Well, they didn't have a choice. They had to beam him on board, because when they tried to hook onto his fighter jet with the tractor beam,
it couldn't handle it. It fell apart.
It fell apart.
He was going to die if they hadn't done it. And with Moonshot, it's this time they bring the conspiracy of aliens involved with trying to murder. They killed 2 astronauts.
Do you know why?
I don't recall. What was it?
Because the aliens had, where art imitates life, the aliens had an installation on the moon that they were afraid the humans would
going to be discovered.
Yeah.
Yep. And we still have that debate because of things that occurred with the first moon mission that supposedly were set off camera, you know, to NASA, you know. But the effects, even for this day and age, I mean, you can still see, even in this image, if you're looking at it as high quality as I am, you can see the blue line around it from using blue screen, because blue screen was what they did, but first, you know, for what's referred to as creating a traveling mat. And it sucked because they hadn't built the entire saucer, so they superimposed the model over top of the large set that they had built. But it was really cool, you know, to us kids at the time, and you were a teenager at the time, right? When this came out, you know, it has an impact on you, the visuals, because it helps sell the idea of what you're watching. If the props don't look good, the show falls apart, in my opinion. That was one of the flaws I had with early Doctor Who, because I had trouble with some of the Doctor Who sets and stuff because it looked so phony, despite the good writing. But once it hit right around 1978, 77, 78, and George Lucas did what he did, all of a sudden it was like, we need to make this look better. And so they did focus more on effects. They're still chintzy. But this show, this had a budget. and they had really good effects. And you saw that opening scene where they had it's a moment like right out of Space 1999, where you see a large model of the moon drifting and the Earth in the background, and then they use the traveling mat of the flying saucer going towards the Earth. And for those of you who don't know what traveling mat is, just go look it up. Look up Special Visual Effects Traveling Mat, and it's MATTE.
Oh,
So,
Gary, you're such a hard ass.
Well, it's just it's such a it takes a lot to explain what it is, and I don't want to go into it. But I do want to go into the chat again. We've got some comments here. 70s Rockfin says Ghost of Fukushima. I don't know what that's about, but Martin highlighted it. I know it's about Fukushima, but what is it? Like if
Loving Sheep?
Fukushima. Yeah, I get it. It's like if it was in Scotland, it would be Fukushima. I didn't know there was a 1995 revival. We won't go into that. We already did. Davina says, Fog of War is also the excuse game designers use when hiding the terrain map in your favorite game. That's true, actually. They took that from the military. Fog of War is what's explained why you have so many mass collateral damage casualties in combat. And it's referred to as the Fog of War. The ooze in Ant-Man is an old Native American ceremony called potlatching. It's turd and shrooms. Ivan Deck, thank you. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that the shrooms that they consume for getting high are grown off of cow patties. There you go. Narrative exposition usually sucks, but the music and scene grabs you, and then bam, the sound drifts into silence, and then deep brooding voice sets the tone of the upcoming scene. Absolutely. Quinn Martin was just a really good executive producer for television. I think what he did the FBI too in the 60s, right? Don?
The Fugitive.
The Fugitive? But didn't he also do the FBI?
I don't think so.
Because I love that shit too.
Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., but
yes. They were known as a stooge show for the FBI, which I believe that's what's going on now. Well, I won't watch the FBI shows.
J. Edgar Hoover was still the HMFIC then.
For those of you who don't know what that means, look it up. And I have to agree with Glenn Fleming. Roy Finnis was Jerry Anderson's doppelganger in 1969. Which is also called here in the U.S. On the other side of the sun. I think was the name of it. It was re-released here in the U.S. under that name, and it's a great film. It's a great film where we discover that there is a mirror Earth always on the opposite side of the sun from us, which is why we don't detect them.
You know, if we ever did have an alien invasion, and I'm talking about a serious one, where we were going down the tubes fast, you know what our last resort would have to be, right?
I would assume nukes.
Everybody with a nuke, set them off all
manually.
At once.
Well,
yes.
That, and you would have to do it manually because because we've discovered that even when it's fly-by-wire,
we have
which is manual controls. Oh, 30 seconds. Well, gosh, I guess we should just go ahead and go. Take us away, Chanel. Hi, guys. This is Gary from Pop Culture Minefield here on KGRA, and we're leaving for our first break. I hope we survive.
A birthday without her mom. An anniversary without her husband. Her wedding day without her dad. These are the days when military families feel it most of all. The loss of their soldier, their sailor, their airman, their Marine, their Coast Guardsman. Families never forget their loved ones lost to war or illness or suicide. Families never forget. And neither do we. We are TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. We provide resources, support, and comfort to heal the hearts and meet the needs of grieving military families, all at no cost to them. Your generosity can make an enormous difference in the lives of the families of our fallen military heroes. Our military families need to know they are not alone and they are not forgotten. Show them your support at taps.org.
One question facing humanity is on the verge of being settled once and for all. The Mutual UFO Network has been at the forefront of this journey for nearly 50 years. Our members worldwide are dedicated to the research, documentation, and awareness that will shape the future of humanity. Won't you join us?
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Oh wow, we survived! Welcome back from the commercial break. Now for some more Pop Culture Minefield on KGRA. All right, welcome back from the break. I hope everybody had a moment to get up and pee. I don't bother. I just pee in the seat.
But you're that kind of guy, Gary.
Because I'm that kind of guy. So here we go. Another comment from John O'Staines. I'm also a big fan of alliteration. Silverback of Saucers, Sultan of Saucer, Ayatollah of Paranorma. Oh, wait a minute. That's not an alliteration. Let's see. Well, that's the scotch I got, 70s. I have Jameson Kilburn, surprisingly good, and Powers of the Irish Whiskey. Amen to Irish whiskey. I will drink Bushmills or Jameson any day of the week, if you put it in front of me. Let's see. I fully agree with Don's theory. We've been reset. And John O'Staines, Gary had pretty, that's when I said, yeah, John Cryer, instead of Cusack. Was this show connected to UFO? No, it wasn't, but I'm certain that Jerry Anderson was aware of this show, even over in the UK. He had to have been. And I think that this show may very well have inspired him. If he were still alive, I would ask. That would be a question I would love to ask.
Let me hit you all with a little speculation, okay? Back in the 90s, when I started to try to contact Roy Thinnis to bring him on my radio show so I could interview him, of course, I knew a lot of people in Hollywood, all right? I knew a lot of producers. Hell, at that time, I was usually appearing on at least one, sometimes two different television shows a week talking about the phenomenon. So I knew a lot of these guys, and I tried to use the fact that I knew them to contact various people. Like, I got to tell you, when Species came out,
oh,
you
the
all
movie,
remember, yeah, Species. I was able to interview the producer on my show because I really wanted to find out more about Syl, the female alien.
Yes, Syl.
Oh, God. Ugh. So anyway, I began hearing rumors about the Invaders. And some of these rumors seem to suggest that the show was canceled, not because it was not receiving good ratings. It was. okay? But that someone in the powers that be were not happy about what it was portraying. Now, I have told you in the past that I have been working on a paper about why I believe disclosure will never, ever happen. Okay, ever. And I haven't finished it yet. And honestly, the last couple of weeks, I haven't done a lot with it. But one of the suggestions, if you will, in this paper falls back on the fact that almost since the beginning of the modern UFO age, 1947, that the senior and elite in the federal government, the United States federal government, became aware of something that basically shook them to their boots from 47 onward. And this is why they have held on so tenaciously to whatever the secret is behind the curtain. So take that for whatever it's worth. But I happen to think myself that that is the reason. They know something that they're terrified someday may become public knowledge.
Yeah, well, look, it's the inevitability. Someone does get a peek behind the curtain. It's just inevitable. It'll happen. By the way, I want to let you guys know the kind of shit that's being said behind the scenes here by our producer. Her shot at alliteration, Wacky Wednesday. That's Chanel. Chanel's Wacky Wednesday. Then she goes, I never thought I'd have to worry about hitting my head, yet it finally happened going into a cellar yesterday. It's like non sequiturs from our producer in the background. Yeah. And of course Martin's talking to her in the private jet. And then let's see, where's it at? Oh, she says Jameson is trash. Look, I am not a big fan of Jameson. It took me a long time to finally break down and drink it, and it wasn't terrible. My favorite drink is Bushmill Black. It is the smoothest whiskey I've ever had, and it's amazing. But yep, she's still. They're just Martin's not even on the show anymore. He's in a conversation with Chanel in the back talking. Oh, good old. Oh my God, Jack Daniels. No, thank you, Chanel. Look, I'm not a fan of bourbon. I'm not. My problem with it's not even Jack Daniels, because I've had single barrel Jack Daniels. It was really good, but the one I couldn't stand. It's the other bourbon, Kentucky bourbon that everybody likes, and it's just too sweet for me. It's another American brand, and Southern Comfort. Ugh. It's just like
cough syrup.
Yeah, it's just
Southern
terrible.
Comfort.
I had a gay boss, I won't say his name, that just constantly was buying me that stuff, and I kept telling him, one, I'm never going to be that drunk, buddy. It'll never happen. Two, pick a better booze. I do not like Southern Comfort. And he just laughed. Gary and Panel, you have you ever seen Dark Crystal? Of course, Jim Henson's film produced by Lord Grade. That's right. For the early 80s, same thing. Impressive opening score. Film depicts an unknown. The score drops. Yep. Let's see. Journey to the Far Side of the Sun. That's what it was called. That was the U.S. release of Doppelganger. Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate that, buddy. What's this one? It's now when we start talking whiskey, man, people get serious in the chat. That's all I got to say. Has anybody tried Green Spot Irish whiskey? I have not. I don't even know what the hell it is. I will have to look it up after the show. Let's see. Alex Moore. Yeah, I use Southern Comfort to make Manhattans. I don't normally like
smooth
sweet booze.
Smooth whiskey, a blended whiskey, the smoothest ever, Kessler. Now, it's not considered top shelf, all right? But I was introduced to it because my old man, when he would drink, that was his drink of choice, Kessler. And when I was 16, I was in a car wreck. A buddy of mine and I were going to something, and we were following another friend of ours who blew well, he didn't blow the stoplight, but he got through before we ended there. It turned yellow. We shot through and we got T-boned by another car, and it dislocated my shoulder. Oh my God, talk about pain. So after I get out of the hospital, I went to the hospital obviously that night, and they released me. I came home, went to bed, and I was just in too much agony. And I laid there for a while, and finally I said, screw it. Everybody was in bed. I went out to the kitchen, got in my old man's liquor cabinet, pulled that Kessler down, poured myself a healthy slug, drank it right down. It was smooth, went back to bed, passed out, and I was good until the AM. So
I got to tell you,
out.
Blended whiskey is another thing that my dad liked. And I think we had dads that liked the same thing. But I tried, here's the one he loved. This is his favorite right here. And I took a swig of it, and I looked at him and I said, I will never drink with you again. And I never
Black
did.
Velvet. Black Velvet is another smooth one.
It even has a song. It's a good song, by the way. Who is it that sang that song? Got it. Black Velvet. That chick. What a voice. Sultry. But I don't know. Look, The Invaders is this great series. Roy Thinnis is somebody who I would love. We should try to get a hold of him and just try to talk to him about, not just about the show, skip the show. Let's talk about other stuff that he's interested in. Greatest conversation I ever had with a movie actor was with Jeremy Bulloch, who played Boba Fett. I was a guest at a show, and he and I were having breakfast. The original actor that played Boomer, we were all sitting there having breakfast together, the three of us at a table. And what did we talk about? No sci-fi nerd stuff. We talked about British military because his son was in the SAS. I'm sorry, not SAS. He was a Marine. He was a Marine in the what do they call him? In
Royal Marines.
Royal Marine. He was a Royal Marine. And I was fascinated with this conversation. So we talked military history. And I had one great conversation with Jeremy Bulloch for Boba Fett, the original Boba Fett, and all we talked about was British military history. And he was fascinated that I knew something about it. And that was fun. That was fun. And then, of course, the actor, I forget his name. I always do. I just forget his name, but a great guy, really nice guy. The gentleman who played Boomer in Battlestar Galactica. He got into it and he started talking about American military. We spent an hour and a half talking about the military history, and kids. I'm sitting there with Boomer from Battlestar Galactica and Boba Fett, and that's what we talked about. And I'd like to get someone like Thinnis on here and talk about UFOs and what he thinks is going on. It'd be curious to pick his brain. Look, man, you started it,
He, like I said, he's up there in years. I don't know. Today, I honestly, I wouldn't even know how to begin to get in touch with him. Rich was coffee drinking buddies with his son, and I never met his son. Everything I got about his son came from Rich. Rich now, of course, has been gone for 3 years, so I don't know.
Well, I have IMDb Pro, so we can look to see if he still has a manager. or an agent and try to go the normal way, going through whoever represents them. But I think we should give it a try because while we have a shot, while he's still alive, I think
he was a legendary figure on X-Files.
Yes, him and what's his name, the Irishman. Oh my God, played Carl Kolchak.
Darren McGavin.
Darren McGavin. Both of them had a huge impact on Chris Carter in creating the X-Files. And by the way,
so did UFO magazine.
Yeah, I have no doubt of that. But I always
out here on the left coast, all right, we used to have every year at least two big conferences called UFO Expo West. And Vicky and I would go down. We had a dealer table. We would set out all the magazines and everything. And this was before the X-Files basically aired. And Chris Carter and one of his associates, I don't know who they were virtually unknown then, okay? This was before the X-Files. Used to come down to all of those. They would come down, haunt our table. Okay, I later found this out because I didn't know the guy at the time, and pick out all the magazines they wanted, then would buy them, all right? And he had them all over his executive offices. Yeah, Glenn. Yeah, I knew Graham Birdsall very well before he passed. He used to beg me to write for his magazine, but the bottom line was, hey, I was up to here with UFO magazine here in LA. So, but yeah, we knew Graham and we liked Graham. And when he passed on, I felt very bad about that.
I bet. Well, I do. I put it up on screen. Bushmills Black is delicious. And that's my last statement on whiskey. It is my favorite preferred whiskey. I never thought I'd say this, but you have a pretty box. All right, Bush. Thanks. Don, have you ever had, I don't even know how to pronounce that, Lafroy?
No. To be honest with you, I don't even know what the heck that is.
Yeah, I've never even heard of it. It sounds Laotian, or it looks like it is, or something.
Lafroy?
I have no idea.
I've
no clue, mate. No clue. So, last thoughts on the Invaders is that is a show I wish they had brought back. Their weak attempt in the 90s was terrible. It's just not even worth mentioning, other than Roy Thinnis get a paycheck out of it. That's all. It's Scott Bakula. He's awesome, but it was a terrible show. Terrible concept.
My wife is passing me notes.
What's it say? Tell Gary to shut up.
If Vivian calls, tell her I'm taking Bailey on a short walk and we'll be back soon. Yes, dear. Uh-oh, I'm catching hell now.
It's a private message, not for TV. It's sort of like me reading the comments in the back from Chanel. They're not meant for public consumption, but that's me. It's what I do. So, again, let's move on to the second half. I wanted to go into another show that I thought was important to us. That those of us that didn't know much about Project Blue Book, other than I believed in it when I was a kid, that they were really doing an actual real investigations into UFOs. And this show helped make me think that, making the Air Force look like good guys. They leave out Hynek. He's not a character in the story when they should have had a character based on him in it. And it's the last thing that Jack Webb produced before he died. He was the executive producer on this show, and it was called Project UFO, based on Project Blue Book, or it's about Project Blue Book. But it's he tried to do for the Air Force what he did for the police with Adam 12 and Dragnet, you know. And when we find out years later what Project Blue Book really was, that it was a MacGuffin, that it was there designed specifically to help cover up what was really happening. You know, that Project Blue Book was there to dispel anything and make it out to be swamp gas, reflections of light or refracted light that wasn't real. What you think you saw wasn't real. And so therefore making people always question what they were seeing. And of course, it is one of the most deceptive and, in my opinion, criminal things done to the U.S. citizens is what was done to us by the CIA and the Air Force in doing this shit. And so it's no surprise that when they did this thing last year, where they got together with Congress to get reports from all the branches of the military on everything they knew so far, that the U.S. Air Force was completely absent. They refused.
Did not participate.
Said, nope, we're not going to give you anything. And it's not because they don't have anything. Obviously, that's not even well, maybe they don't have anything. No, you know that they did the investigations into this. And Hynek even walked away going, I was a skeptic when I started, and now I'm a true believer because of what he saw. And I got to tell you, man, enemies of this country, Air Force and the CIA, absolutely, to the sovereign nation of the United States. I'm sure I'll probably get assassinated for that.
To be fair and equal, perhaps, and this is simply, I'm wool gathering, okay? This is simply speculation, but it's possible the Air Force believes that they're withholding their information from us for our benefit because of what they truly know. There is that possibility, Gary.
Scary possibility. But this is the intro to that show, and I do believe Jack Webb's voice is on this, as I recall. This is season 1 pilot intro.
Ezekiel saw the wheel. This is the wheel he said he saw. These are unidentified flying objects that people say they are seeing now. Are they proof that we are being visited by civilizations from other stars? Or just what are they? The United States Air Force began an investigation of this high strangeness in a search for the truth. What you are about to see is part of that 20-year search.
And there you go. If I think that it should have had a different score than that, but I got to tell you, it's probably her friend calling. She warned him. Let them know let them know I'm walking the dog. See, I love the musical score, slow, wind down, then the voice, like, yeah, exactly. I don't think it's a good UFO theme But still, I love the show. I love the voiceover. Jack Webb had one of those voices, man. I love hearing his voice. You know, I don't know about you, Don, but I've always been a big Jack Webb fan.
Yeah, kinda. I got to tell you that I found Webb to be somewhat of an acquired taste. By the way,
oh, no doubt, yeah.
By the way, Jack Webb was a United States Army veteran. His dream, his whole life was to have been a Marine Corps veteran. And one of his favorite roles was when he portrayed a Marine Corps DI. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, I love that movie.
Jan Michael Vincent was the hippie recruit.
Yep.
That he was
shapes him up, man.
Desperately trying to shape up. Yeah.
Yep. I love that movie, man. I remember watching it as a kid. I'm telling you, from my childhood, I was a Jack Webb fan. I liked it. I liked his pacing when he talked. He had a very interesting pace.
And I'm not surprised he died.
Attention.
He smoked like a
chimney.
Train.
Yeah, that dude smoked 12 packs a day, some ridiculous number. I remember reading an interview. That guy always had a cigarette, and in fact, I think his wife or his ex-wife said something about that. He would be smoking and he'd have 2 cigarettes, one almost finished and one just started in an ashtray. And I'm like, oh my god, that's a serious smoker. And that's what reminds me of my own dad. I was joking with Anima the other day about the color of a smoker's wall. I said, I have firsthand experience with that with my dad, that he smoked like Camels, no filters. He was a serious smoker. And I swear to God, you don't notice it when it's a gradual change. But I remember Mr. Cody, who is still a dear friend of mine. He was the manager of the apartment to my dad's best friend. And I am so grateful I still have this man in my life. He sent over some paint and he says, here, Gary, you and your dad can go ahead and paint your own apartment at your leisure. So we started moving everything off the wall, laid down some tarp and did some painter's tape. And I put down with a roller the first roll of paint. It was eggshell. And I put that down and I saw the difference between the eggshell and the apartment was already painted eggshell. And the difference was almost brown to white. The color of the tar, everything in that wall. And I'm like, I'm inhaling this. And I'm an asthmatic. So I decided right then and there, and that's the moment I decided I'm going to get my dad to quit smoking. So I did this cunning thing. I know how, because I'm an asthmatic, I know how to fake an asthma attack. So every single time he would light up, if I was there, I would start wheezing and have to grab the Primatene Mist thing. And I'm like, Dad, that smoking's killing me, Dad. And I got him to quit when I was 13 years old. And all because of the painting that wall made me do that, because I started thinking, that's in my lungs. I've inhaled this stuff. That freaked me out as a kid.
You know, my old man, my grandfather, was a 2 to 3 pack a day smoker of Camels. Okay. Now, sometime, and I guess I was about 9 or 10, for whatever reason, he decided he had to quit. I don't know what the backstory was, but you know how he did it? And his whole life, if he ever exceeded 135 pounds, it was a miracle. He started eating black licorice. Black licorice got him off the Camels.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing with that. And I'm going to tell you, this is the thing. It is absolutely a nervous tick, smoking. It becomes a physical habit. And what did my dad do? My dad began eating cashews and corn nuts. And I got to tell you, he gained so much weight from doing that. Got him to quit smoking, but then he gained weight. because the hand to mouth thing, the oral fixation, it's not queer. Don't try to make it queer. It's just cigarette smokers need that, and it's a nervous tick. And so whenever he wanted to smoke, he'd start downing corn nuts or cashews. He said he couldn't eat peanuts. He was allergic, but I'm like, bullshit, you're not allergic, because he could eat peanut butter.
Well, my grandfather swelled up to about 165 pounds.
Boom! That is so typical for people who quit smoking. Very typical, because they switch. It's sort of like, this is not funny to me, but it's funny, ironic, is that when you go join AA, one of the first things that occurs is you give up one thing for another, one addiction for another. And so many people who quit drinking turn to smoking or drinking coffee. I shit you not. Very common, these two things. And so why is rum gone? Rum? Look, I'm going to go into this real quick. I don't want to be derailed too long, but coconut rum is the only rum I like. And I drink it with orange juice because it's amazing. That is an amazing mixed drink, is coconut rum and orange juice. Shit you not. You can't taste any alcohol in that, and it will F you up. I've been effed up on it so many times. So let's go to some private chats here. Or not private chats, but the group chat. You should see if Dan Aykroyd would come on. I would love to talk to Dan because I'm on the spectrum and I'm fixated on things. And I understand, because like when he wrote the first Ghostbusters, did you hear how thick that script was? He'd never written a script before, a screenplay. And he wrote Ghostbusters, and Harold Ramis described it as being thicker than a New York phone book. Unshootable. I mean, you're talking probably 1,000 pages. You can't shoot that as a film. It probably would have been a better TV series, an entire season. Let's see. Herbert Jefferson, thank you, Davina, thank you. Lieutenant Boomer on Battlestar Galactica, the original. Really nice guy. Darren McGavin, yes, the same Darren McGavin, Bush, same one. He started me. Invaders didn't do it, but I got to tell you, The Night Stalker absolutely moved me into an interest in the paranormal, including aliens. I grew up on Chariots of the Gods, but it was The Night Stalker that made me, I want to do that. I want to hunt monsters.
I was home on emergency leave from Vietnam, okay, when I had a death in my family. My mother contacted, well, it's a long story, but our congressman, he basically arranged it so I could come back. I was there for the funeral. And while I was home, this was in January of 1973, The Night Stalker movie came on with Darren McGavin. Okay. The vampire one. Let me tell you what, fresh out of Vietnam, on my way back to Vietnam,
they're calling back.
Okay, I hung up. And I watched that movie. That freaking movie gave me nightmares. Okay. The guy that played the vampire in that was so good. I can't think of his name now. But he was terrifying. Kind of like the clown in It. Okay. That kind of terror.
Well, he did the hiss thing and the bloodshot eyes.
Yeah.
And The Night Stalker, the first movie came out, and I'm going to look it up real quick. I'll look it up on.
Yeah, Glenn, I thought I answered that earlier. Yeah, I knew Graham. Sure.
And I'm looking up the vampire real quick here. Barry Atwater played the vampire.
Okay.
And that dude, I mean, even without makeup on, he has those blank eyes, but a very good actor. And he nailed that vampire. He was scary as shit. And they did 2 movies. The first one, was called The Night Stalker. And then the follow-up film took place in Vegas and had to do with Jack the Ripper. The Night Strangler. And then they got greenlit for a TV series, and they only got one season.
Wasn't Vegas, Gary?
I thought it was Vegas.
Seattle.
One of them was in Vegas. Was it the first one, the vampire one?
The first one was in Vegas.
Okay, I got him backwards.
The Night Strangler was in Seattle.
Seattle. And that one dealt with Jack the Ripper. Every 100 years, he wakes up to eat, to kill and consume. But by the way, Glenn Foaming wants to know, Don, you ever meet or talk with Graham Birdsall?
Yeah, I've answered that twice now.
Okay. I had to go. Did Don ever answer my question?
Yes.
I don't. Okay,
so the question about Lafroig.
The question of the what?
Of the Lafroig whiskey.
Oh, the whiskey. Oh, yeah. We didn't know what the hell that was. My friend Dave is a bastard. He wouldn't name his kid Buster. Buster Brown is a way better name than Logan or Ellis. I don't know how to respond to that. I don't agree. I don't like the name Buster Brown. Yes, I do have I have Twitter. You can follow me on my Twitter account. I do believe. Hold on, let me check real quick. I believe it's just at my name, but I'm going to double check. And come on. Yep. I'll put it in the chat. If you are curious about my personal posts, you will find me here. I will tell you, if you are not somewhat conservative in your views, you might be offended by some things I say on my personal page. It's not my Twitter account. I mean, the Pop Culture Minefield Twitter account is my personal one. And I am apt to, because I talk about a lot of artwork and movies and stuff like that, but I'm not afraid to talk politics on my personal Twitter account and where I stand on subjects. So, and I am grateful to Elon Musk for taking over and bringing some sensibility back. Sure, they've got problems, but it's nothing like what it was before. It's back to being the wild, wild west.
Anima has breached the back door.
I'm so disappointed in you, baby. My heart's broken. You broke my heart. You broke my heart. You broke my heart, Frito. You broke my head. Anyway.
Open your back door, baby. Loosen your hinges, I'll show you my key.
Boom, baby. So
there's something so wrong with that clip.
Well, the doorknob looks like a vagina. I mean, not the doorknob, but the lock itself is designed to specifically look like it. But so Project UFO, I did like the show. Jack Webb put some money into it, and they actually followed a lot. And I'm trying to remember, what year did that start? It was 78. It was a year after Star Wars. And so they put some effort into making things look interesting. The UFOs on
so freaking dishonest.
Oh, it's extremely dishonest. But back then, we didn't know that as kids. I had no clue how dishonest it was. Because I was a big supporter of the military, and the Air Force, was part of the Army in my eyes. It still was, whether it liked it or not. And but learning later what they did, it's shameful. It is shameful. It's a blight on American history what the Air Force has done. And it's an ugly black eye, the Air Force. I see them as a black eye to our military. I'm not saying the personnel in there are bad. I'm saying command is bad. I'm saying their intelligence people are bad. And I stand by that. And again, they'll probably assassinate me. Gary suddenly choked to death on a ham bone. Seems like you would have known better than to eat a ham with a bone in it. So
surely you can't be serious.
I am. I will never choke on a ham bone unless somebody murdered me. But and speaking of Dan Aykroyd,
Hey, where these stairs go?
they go up. I swear to God, that is my favorite joke in that film. I still chuckle at that joke. It's like the thing that made Ghostbusters so good is the fact that the comedy isn't from the setup. The comedy comes from things that people say in reaction to other things. The stimuli in that show is technically a mixture of science fiction and paranormal horror. And the characters react to it, and that's what makes it funny. And saying effed up things. And Don, you know as well as I do, some of the funniest shit you'll ever hear is in a very tight situation, saying something effed up when it's happening.
Two movies that I just can never get enough of. Okay, The Blues Brothers, which of course Aykroyd and Belushi, and Animal House. Those two movies I absolutely just freaking love. All right, the comedy in them today would they never get made today? Okay, they could never make those movies today, and not with the same panache. But my God, they're classic.
Hey, by the way, I got a message from Brian. He said he will be there next week, so we can continue his episode, talk more about the subject. So, thought that's nice. Let's see. Over on my personal page, I'm looking to see. It looks like I've been followed by a few people today. All right. Enter at your own risk on my Twitter account. That's all I'm saying, dude. John Osteen says, is Martin or Anima guiding the boat like Neptune's wooden angels carved into the front of old ships? No. This is a show that is guided by ADD. And Don and I are big embracers of ADD. Squirrel. I don't know if you saw what just happened. I just splashed myself in my drink laughing.
I had to mute my mic. Bailey is barking at a dog out front. Honey, Vivian called. Call her.
You know, when dogs bark, Family Guy got it right. When dogs bark, all they're saying is, hey, I'm a dog. I'm a dog. Hey. And then the other dog goes, I'm a dog too. Hey. That's all they're saying. Cavatino Cavalryman Chase says, death by spam bone. And Monkey says, my friend Dave. Oh, I already read that one. I'm sorry. Redundant. Welcome to the Department of Redundancy Department. Would you do that? I have a dark sense of humor. That's why I have a very dark sense of humor. This show is
landmines are not very funny.
No, look, nobody can out ADD Danny. Nobody. I try. Can't do it. Gary, yes, I'm a bigger dog. Yeah, but I'm louder. But I'm bigger. I don't care. Yeah, that's their conversations. Dogs are weird. But Project UFO, like I said, it was the last thing that Jack Webb produced before he died. And it's a show that if you've never checked it out, you should go check it out. Despite the fact that, and I don't believe that Jack Webb had any idea that the Air Force was being deceptive with their investigation. I think that he was a man of honor. He was kind of a dick. But that's why I like Jack Webb. If you get to read stories about Jack Webb and people that knew him, he was kind of a dick. But he was an honest dick. He was honest about everything he did. He's very straightforward, straight shooting. And I got to be honest, his character of Detective Friday was pretty spot on to who he was. He just put himself into that role. He was a just the facts man kind of guy. And if he got a hankering for something, he was going to go do it. And when he revived Dragnet, because it had already ended. A lot of people don't know that series had ended. And when he brought it back, it was 66. It was a whole new show. He had a new partner because his old partner had gotten sick and pretty much died in the 60s. He had gotten sick during the series. And I think that ended up also causing the show to end because his partner, Joe, was it Joe? I can't remember. It was Joe. I think that was a kid. No, was it Joe Friday? Then it would have been
Joe Friday was Jack Webb.
Jack Webb's character. It was Frank then, I think was it. Because later he brought Harry Morgan in to play his partner.
Yeah.
And Harry Morgan had been on Dragnet and had worked with him. In fact, there's a classic movie from the 50s where Webb played a trumpetist in a jazz band, and Harry Morgan is in that movie. They were friends in real life. And so when he revived the series Dragnet and brought it back, and that's why it's called Dragnet 66. Same year, Star Trek started. And he brought the show back, did 2 seasons, I think. Was it 2 seasons? And they were great seasons. They really did great. But he wanted to move on. He wanted to finish Dragnet. He wrapped it up. And then he started another little show that I think is one of the best cop dramas in the history of law enforcement on TV, Adam 12. And I still consider a fantastic show because despite G rating everything, it's pretty accurate in how it depicted the Los Angeles police.
Well, here's a little UFO factoid for anybody out there that is curious and a fan of Star Trek. You all know that Tracy Torme has been a friend of mine for a long time, going back to 89, 90. And of course, he's very well known in the UFO field. He's the guy that did Fire in the Sky. He did Sliders. He did a whole lot of stuff. Worked with Bud Hopkins on one of Bud's books.
Intruders.
Turned into a series, a short-lived series.
Well, it was a 2-parter, as I recall, wasn't it? 2-parter?
Whatever.
Okay.
But whatever.
Miniseries.
Yeah.
Hey.
But Roddenberry, he worked with Roddenberry on the first 2 seasons, or the first, seasons of The Next Generation. And he ended up being actually mentored by Gene Roddenberry. And Tracy won a Peabody Award for one of the episodes he did. And so, he was Roddenberry's favorite. And of course, being the son of Mel Torme didn't hurt him. So one day, Roddenberry yelled that he wanted to see Tracy. Well, Tracy went into his office and he said, and I'm paraphrasing, "What's this bullshit? I understand you're curious about UFOs. You've been working on UFOs. That's all crap, it's bullshit. And I'm really disappointed. You're into UFOs?" Kind of like reminded me of Jack Webb with this series. Okay. The vehemence that term can pull out of some people. God damn it.
Yeah,
hang on a minute.
Oh, come on.
No problem.
Okay.
Hey,
all right. Goddamn phone. I'm gonna disconnect it.
And I got to tell you, I love him. But it's hard to have him on because he has absolutely, and I'm not kidding here, the shittiest internet where Tracy Torme lives. It's just the worst.
Oh yeah.
And it's just, I want to have him on, but the connectivity is just not there for having him on.
Well, here's the thing: the great bird of the galaxy, Gene Roddenberry, denied that there were aliens. For Christ's sakes, come on, okay? The guy that gave us aliens weekly, every week, gave us Vulcan and the Klingons and the Romulans and on and on and on.
Well, it shows just how short-sighted he was. I mean, this is the same guy who believes that we could live in a utopia of Star Trek. Next Generation in particular. Next Generation, his goal was there would be no interpersonal drama, and so he forbade it while he was alive, that there be any interpersonal drama, that we would have gone beyond that, and that
he was a freaking World War II bomber pilot, for God's sake.
Crashed 2 planes, survived. Gene was a great guy, good writer. He really was a good writer. Farpoint is my least favorite episode of Next Generation. It's a pilot, 2-part pilot of Next Generation. Least favorite. But when you ask me what parts do I like, only the parts that he wrote. He is the one who brought Q into it. The rest of the script was just a straight story, and he felt something was missing. And so he added Q as a character. It's Trelane, clearly it's Trelane. But he created Trelane, so he can do that, borrow from himself. People act like that was some sort of faux pas. And it's like, no. But agreed, it's ridiculous that a guy that could write something like that would absolutely think that we're the cul-de-sac of all life in the universe. It's ridiculous.
Hey, Bush sent me 2 pictures that I'm sure you're gonna like it if you
sure.
allow me.
Okay. As long as they're not pornographic.
Oh, why do you have?
If you're gonna share those with me privately. I'll take those privately.
There.
Oh, John Wayne. Yes, I'm a big John Wayne fan. Despite what Don and I talk about, that he really was technically a draft dodger.
He really was a freaking draft dodger. That's what he was.
Yeah. And this is the width of the book.
Oh, but there's a whole section of photos. I can see it.
Yeah.
In the middle.
The white line. But yeah.
And when I went to bookstores, a lot of times when I would look up biographies, I wanted to see if there was a white section in the middle of the book, and I'd want to go look at the photos. And that wasn't what sold it to me, but I only would buy biographies that had photo sections, so I'd have something to go to refer to while I'm reading. Because I felt that was important. John is here. Yes. Hey, buddy. So you're in your hospital bed. Everything was successful? Oh, no. You just got to the hospital because you said your appointment is at 11 o'clock. So your surgery probably is going to be about an hour or so. Probably by the time we start our next show.
No, his surgery was at 1. They wanted him there by 11.
Yeah. Okay, what's this? Don's fun lands him in detention. What is this? Don fun lands him in detention. Fire in the Sky was great. It really was. Look, that horror stuff that's in there didn't happen. It was actually more of a benign experience, according to Travis. He said that the reason why he was taken in the first place is they had inadvertently killed him. That they were not trying to capture him, that he got caught in the middle of a beam and it short-circuited his heart.
Yeah.
And so they brought him up into the ship where they revived him and took care of him, for however long it was that he was gone. But John, you take care of yourself, buddy. And
good luck, buddy. And
we're all sitting here waiting to hear how it goes.
Heal up quick.
That's speed, my man.
Not a big fan of the Centerfold, my friend. I'm a Bob Guccione fan. I like the pictorial stories. Wink, wink.
Yeah, Gary just bought it for the pros.
Well, I got to tell you, there were times because they really did have some good military journalists that worked for some of those magazines, and I'd read some of those articles, including one of my old friends, Colby Bazell, was a foreign journalist for. I'm not sure if it was. I think it was Bob Guccione's magazine. It was either that or Penthouse. No, not. It might have been Penthouse. It was either that one or the dude that was in a wheelchair talk like, They made the United States versus Larry Flint. That's the dude, Larry Flint. I had to remember the name of the film to remember his name.
Yeah.
And so he either works for Guccione's magazine or for Flint's, but he's he was in that battle. The Tet Offensive of the Iraq War was the battle in Mosul on June 4th or June 24th of 2004, and it was when the insurgency turned its attention to the inhabitants instead of us, and set off major car bombs across the country, killing a slew of people and wounding thousands, and people that were in line at hospitals, people that were in line to become cops. And, the Iraq War is a huge F up on our part by dispersing the military. We helped basically build the insurgency, because at that point they were just Syrians and Iranians.
Well, yeah, and the other screw up, if we're getting technical, is the fact that our people did not secure all the ordnance that the Iraqi army was strewing everywhere.
A
My
lot of
God,
it ended up.
RPGs,
A lot of it ended up in
Kalashnikov
Syria.
rifles, high explosives. I mean, and it just left it lie there. So anybody that got a wild hair up their ass and decided they'd like to ding an American could go out, find a rifle, and go to it. By the way, that pissed me off, in case you didn't know. And Rumsfeld, that son of a bitch.
I'm not a Rumsfeld fan either.
Oh, hey, let me tell you what, that guy. And Bush, I voted for Bush, and it was later that I just was angry I voted for anybody. Okay, I'm not going to get into it, but yeah.
We have a minute and a half.
I'm also not a fan of Dick Cheney. I've never liked him. I don't like
tell you
Bush.
one thing, I'm never going to go bird hunting with Cheney.
Yeah, right. Cheney is a piece of shit, and here's why. When soldiers were dying over in Afghanistan and Iraq, he was using that signature machine to send out the letters to the families. He couldn't take the time to sign those letters.
Son of a bitch was too good to go to Vietnam, too.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Oh, I slipped. There it was. My big F-bomb. Don't like Dick Cheney. Screw that guy. Don't like Donald Rumsfeld. He was a corporate stooge. Couldn't stand him. My problem, people go, well, you're conservative, Gary. It doesn't mean I'm a Republican. I don't support a lot of Republicans. I don't support the religious right either.
You have 30 seconds.
Hey, that's good to hear.
Hey,
that's
gang,
good to hear.
Join us this afternoon on Dangerous Military Nerds.
Where we're going to talk about stuff.
Same bad time.
Get us out of here.